Yo, what's going on? All right, so we're running the backtesting and Q&A stream. So if you got any questions, psych related, ICT concept related, we'll cover that. Everything will be recorded and posted onto YouTube after the fact. So won't be trading or anything like that. Just hanging out. Be probably around 30 minutes to an hour. Obviously, if you go over that, then that's fine too. But never got the market maker buy model completed from this morning up till the ERL high. Ended up just wilting lower, and now we're trading into the discount on NASDAQ. There's the hourly imbalance below us. Down here, got the DXY market maker sell model too. Anyways, I'll send the reviews, the difficult day reviews into models and reviews chat. That'll be probably done by end of day today or in probably by tomorrow. I'll send out probably today's, yesterday's, and Tuesday's. Wednesday and Monday we'll keep up to you guys. Would you say your market maker model profiles are different models on its own? You know, the Delta Alpha and others. Would you suggest picking 1 to 2 to trade solely rather than trying to understand them all? I would say understand them all for sure, because it's really just the market profiles for the morning. They all are not different models. It's just a framework of what you're expecting to see. So the models, the entry types will be the same. You'll either be looking for obviously the whole ATM model setup, but the entries will either be a breaker, so unicorn setup, or a fair value gap in premium or discount, right? But the framework of the actual models, like the market maker model profiles, just gives you an understanding of what is expected to be in price, right? So if we have like the delta and the alpha, those are like 2, I think, green ones, right? Those are most commonly seen on 8:30 news days. So if you wanted to just trade the high probability, easy go-to setups, then you use your economic calendar, figure out what days are likely to see those kind of profiles, or you just wait for the, to identify in price action for the morning. You can skip out on the low probability ones. It doesn't mean you have to trade every single one. I think it's good to understand though what it looks like. Just like on low probability days, I don't think you should completely avoid them in the beginning. I think maybe you should avoid them in the beginning just to build the discipline. But then once you're comfortable with just sitting out and feeling no FOMO of not getting an entry and just letting price run without you, then it's good to tape read low probability days. It helps build the skill. If you want to demo trade on those days, there's nothing wrong with that either. But then when you come into a morning session, you don't understand beforehand, it's likely to be low probability. If price action, is chopping around or it's not giving you what you want, you then have the discipline and the understanding of, okay, this is likely to give me a poor entry, or I have to scalp today, or I have to sit out. So definitely practice with each one. That's why backtesting is so important too. Just so you can get comfortable and familiar with identifying what's likely to play out. There's only, like 7 or 8 different profiles. And if you just study those, the entry times are all pretty similar too. Like right around macro time, and then exits around London close. So 10:30 to 11 o'clock, if you're wondering, is right around a London close, which is important for Forex and mostly important for commodities too, but it's majority Forex. You have reversals happening sometimes around that time. That's why you prefer to exit in the New York session during London close. That overlaps with each other. One thing I wanted to look into over the weekend though was the Zusi put out a video. Now, I don't really like his content normally, just because he released that TAPTA stuff, and after that I kind of just stopped watching his content, and he, I don't really trust him. But he did post a cycle video for the AM session and the PM session, just regarding time theory and stuff like that. I asked him personally if this was verified by a charter member or where he got the source, and he responded and said it's from the ICT charter, the private charter forum. I don't know where his credibility, where he got that from, but I'll definitely check it out later this weekend. If you want to go ahead and check it out for yourself, it is, let me pull up the video really quickly. It's this video right here. Technically, you don't really have to watch the whole thing. There's one section in there that you can look at and double check if you want to. It's like, it's basically understanding 90-minute cycles. Here's the screenshot. If you want this instead of watching the entire video, you can just use that. If I could get a couple people to help me backtest that, it'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to, I'll probably start a Q&A post in there. But at the same time, 90-minute cycles were never released by ICT. And I don't really know the whole purpose of trying to extrapolate his data without without him saying what it is, especially with something as specific as time. So, you know, take it out as it is. Right. He's saying use them as session liquidity pools. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm already comfortable with where I'm at, so no need to add new stuff. Gotta get to the level 3 time theory then, right? Yeah, that's true. I feel like though, once you understand what you're looking for, that's kind of just subconscious anyways. Like using the 8:30 to 10 o'clock draw on liquidity for the next session seems pretty standard. Like you'll normally see a swing higher, swing low. Like this buy side, yeah, it's previous cycle, but I think that's just an obvious buy to the liquidity pool you could grab. So, anyways. Still in TGIF range too. He uses 90-minute cycles, but then he also uses 30-minute cycles in some of his videos. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how the fractalness of kill zones work. I would just say wait for ICT's books. If he releases it in the book, that'll be sweet. Otherwise, just focus on the kill zones. Shrink them down if you want to. 930 to 11 is all you need. Would you recommend futures over Forex prop firms? Personally, I would, just based on my own experience. I've never used a Forex prop firm or really traded Forex at all, really. Maybe here and there, but not more than a couple trades. I don't know about the firm space though. Futures firms, normally you have to be very selective with which you want or what you want based on which rules they provide and support. Like something like Apex with their new DCA rules and things like that. You gotta pick carefully. I would say starting off on a futures firm, my funded futures, Top Step, Trade Day, probably your top 3 just based on a withdrawal. Ease of withdrawal, and it's not super difficult to pass their evaluations, just, you know, if you give yourself a month or so. But I would say long term, you definitely should start switching over to futures, just because I don't know how long Forex will be a thing. Maybe for a year or 2, but it's not a huge deal if you switch late. What do you check to know it's a strong probability day? Economic calendar will be the main source. So any 8:30 news day, typically high probability. 10 a.m. news, high probability. A non-news day without a news day after it. So if we have Tuesday, there's no news. Wednesday, there's no news. You can look on the Tuesday to trade. If there's 8:30 news on Thursday, something like that, then you normally days before 8:30. Let me see if I can type it out for you. So 8:30 news days are fine. 10 a.m. news days. Days before 8:30 news normally are more difficult. days with no news or no news the next day, excluding Mondays. Normally Mondays are low probability. Now that's just from a, you could do that without even looking at the price action. Price action wise, there's different techniques you can look for. It all comes down to experience, really. Like today we were in between two breakers, which is, it's hard to spot when you're looking at it from the beginning. Normally large overnight ranges. So if we have a large range in the London session or right before 9:30 or 8:30, if there's a huge range, then you'll see AM session consolidate. Yeah, days after bank holidays are also pretty low probability. Days after large expansion days sometimes. Bunch of different things. I think there is a Q&A post about that too. Let me see if I can link it really quickly. It's pretty far down there. But yeah, just take a look in the Q&A and it should be somewhere in there. You have to explain your strategy in a Zoom call with Apex now? Is that actually a thing? There's no way. To be honest, I really don't understand what the point of an Apex account is in the beginning. Makes no sense, other than it being cheap. But if you have the opportunity to go with any other futures firm, I would say it's probably better. On low probability days like today, is it normal for the correct time low to be like the 958 low today to be taken out? Yes. Actually, it was not taken out until after. You're only looking at those time lows and time highs during the morning session. Okay, so maybe like up to 11, maybe around 11:30. In lunch, it can do whatever it wants. So if lunch wants to come and take these stops, if it's taking sell stops, normally you anticipate bullish price action for the PM session. Obviously, we're not getting that. But lunch and PM session, these lows placed in the AM do not need to hold for the entire day. It's just on a New York schedule. That's what you're focusing on, right? And normally you're not going to be holding trades outside of the kill zone anyways if you're focusing on just one. Especially if you're intraday scalping too. Full porting and getting banned. Might be the move. Getting into their live. Do they even have live accounts? I don't think they have live accounts. Get into the live accounts and just full port. Gold news. Yeah, FTMO will be around for a while too. Kind of sucks that you can't take a US client anymore though. Otherwise I would have jumped on. I do have a couple of videos of what I'm looking for before bias or before the morning session. Let me see if I can pull those up for you. Or it's in. Okay, here's one of them. This is an old backtesting stream. And then here is another one. That's not what I want. Here we go. These two. If you can grab that. ICT says lunch raid sessions start from 1. Oh, it's from 12 to 1:30. Yep. That's right. That's your entire lunch session. If you want your sessions, they're right here. I mean, really, the lunch is between 12 and 1. But you can look at the one setup for life video. That's the more important element of the kill zones when your highs and lows form. Good stuff you got here. Thanks for your time. ATM model is a game changer. Back tested on high probability days for the past month. Good looks. Yeah, it's killer. You know what you're looking for. Almost an everyday model. What are the things that allows you to enter trade without waiting for second stage of distribution? Good question. I would say normally I don't trade and wait for the second stage of distribution. I don't like waiting that long. I like trading right at the low risk entry or even the first stage entry. The second stage is pretty far. Obviously on a day like today, we just took a demo scalp, but as long as it lines up with the higher time frame bias, SMT is extremely important. So 15-minute SMT and then some sort of a change in state of delivery. So I prefer a breaker formation or a closure past like a 5-minute order block. But SMT, higher time frame bias, and then change in state of delivery are all extremely important to enter on that low risk entry point. Whether you're, fair value gap or a breaker, whatever it may be. What's your take on Fiverr's prop firm? I actually don't know them at all. I see a bunch of ads, but no idea. Yeah, if you have the opportunity to go for FTMO, I would say that's probably the move. Definitely way more expensive than you're probably used to for an evaluation. But if you're comfortable, maybe passed a couple of evals, got some payouts before then, and it's available in your country, then FTMO. Trade day is fantastic so far. I've had no problem with them. Thoughts on time axis power of 3? I hate you. I think I mentioned it last week at some point. I have no idea. I got to do some hard thinking for that one. You asking the real questions. I have no clue. All right, what you know about the time axis power of 3? What are your settings for the macro indicator? I got you. By the way, I figured out that this kind of lags my charts pretty high. Just right click, obviously put on your sessions, click on this little 3 dots, and then go to move to new pane below, and it'll drop it like this, and then you can just drag this down. That's it. And then the colors, you can just change it. Hey folks, I may have asked this before at some point, but after a higher time frame market maker model to the ERL is finished, what do you look to happen next? Normally a lower time frame IRL, so a retracement of some sort on lower time frame. If you're looking at like a hourly market maker buy model, then maybe a 5-minute daily range for us to retrace back into discount. But normally some sort of retracement. If it lines up with the kill zone, then you can use it as a bias. If it doesn't matter too much. But normally after every premium array, you'll see a discount. Discount arrays, you see back to premium. Obviously ERL to IRL as well. 15-minute SMT, what time frame do you want to see the CISD on? Preferably 5-minute or below. So I'm either looking at a 5-minute down to a 1-minute. Normally I'm just comfortable trading the 1-minute chart. So 1 minute, but 5-minute if you want your optimal change in state. So is it better to avoid days with no red folder news? Normally, yes. As in like a broad statement, yeah. But I mean, not all the time, right? There's exceptions to it. But yeah, if you wanted your highest probability kind of days, look for red folder or orange folder news, trade those kind of days. What's the range for the 130 macro? 20 minutes like the others? I'm not familiar with the 130 macro. Time power 3 kind of cooks. How would that even work? What would be the manipulation on a time scale? Time distortion? Hey, you got to drop the sauce. I'll do some digging. Let me see if I can find it. Then you got to spill the beans. I wish I could flip the chart vertically. You can do this, but you can't flip it vertically. Anyways. Oh, you could do window settings. Why I just tilt my head. Kind of understand his CRT. Hey, don't get caught up in the new thing, the new shiny object. Be very careful with that stuff. It's like a syndrome, like shiny new object syndrome. There's always going to be some new thing. And obviously, if you find your model on the new thing, there's nothing wrong with that. But every single time you jump on a social media platform, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, there's always going to be some new flavor of the month, some new ICT concept that someone rebranded and renamed. And it all just boils down to the same exact stuff that everyone's been teaching. It's not more difficult than IRL to ERL, time, and an entry model. That's it. Like higher time frame bias will take priority, figure out is it likely to go to premium or discount, and are we going to get there? What time are we going to get there? It's not more difficult than that. Obviously, all the little intricate things like inversion gaps and inversion order blocks and breakers, you don't need that stuff. It's helpful when you're reading price, but it's not necessary. So be careful trying to find the next shiny object and think that that's the next thing. CRT to me makes absolutely no sense, personally. It's literally just a turtle soup. And it's the most cherry-picked idea because everyone goes, oh, this is CRT. When I could find a CRT in basically every single time frame and say it's CRT. And it has no purpose in studying anything. It's a backtesting. It's a hindsight idea, personally. And I think it's a waste of time to study. So don't look at CRT. The guy who made it or who popularized it, Romeo, was known to scam people like 6 months ago in his mentorship group. So he doesn't really have much credibility. I'm not talking down on him, but be very careful with where you get your content from. It's got to be people who study the same exact basic ICT concepts that normally do the best in teaching. So, even my own ATM, like my own model, that doesn't mean that's going to be the right suit and fit for you. If you work better on higher time frames, don't use the model. Use something that works for you. I just teach how to read price and manage psychology more than anything. Once it reaches 10:10, can you still enter a trade, or is it better to let it go? Like today, the entry was 10:23 for longs. Normally, I prefer 10:15 and before. Like a little outside the window is not too bad. On a day like an 8:30 news day, anytime between 9:30 and 10, I'll normally feel comfortable about. I wouldn't even say this is the entry. I would say, someone posted it earlier this morning, but Atlas posted a picture where technically this is the trade right here from this morning. Stop would have gone below there, but this is your entry long from 10:06. Another one here on 10:17 with the True Value Gap and the change in state here. But that would all be within macro time. This one here, obviously, definitely a difficult stop. Holding the rejection block here on the 3-minute probably. Yeah, 3-minute gap. But yeah, normally I like it to keep it between 9:30 and 10:10, 9:30, 9:50, 10:15 as entries. Time is very, very specific. So normally there's not a lot of leeway you have to give. Yeah, buy side, sell side rebrand is nuts. CRT is just crazy. Like even I'll probably get some flack for this, but even Day's quarterly theory, I have, people have found success with it. I have no problem with that, but just seems very It's just a rebrand of kill zones and rebrand of macros and time, where it's just select. You can get the same result without quarterly theory, is all I'm saying. It's not broken, don't fix it. I just need to master 2 and I'm good. Since trading ICT 2 months ago, been able to get 3 accounts funded. Before then, I was just blowing my accounts all the time. That's mad impressive. Good stuff. Yeah, it's really very basic. Like if the last time you watched the 2022 model was a couple years ago, I would say go back and watch that entire playlist. It's such a good playlist that has replay capability on it that you'll still continue to find good gems throughout the day, especially if you understand the one setup for life, time buy side and time sell side. Like if you go back and watch that 2022 model, all of the sell side and buy side that he's marking out is from either London session or Asian session or previous day highs and lows, all that same stuff. Is MMXM the most basic concept? I would argue it's probably the most advanced concept to understand a market maker model completely. But it's basic in the sense that every single session that you look at, you're going to be trading some sort of a market maker model. I think it's the easiest to spot, but to master it, it's very difficult. But like, you're only going to be trading market maker models every single time. So flux after 10:30, most times another trade entry can be formed, right? Could it be a turtle soup or continuation? Can you talk more on this? Yeah, you can either get a reversal trade. Normally what you see is, let me draw this out. If you have an expanded range between 9:30 and 10 with very few retracements, you'll get normally a consolidation range, turtle soup, and then retracement back into 50% of that dealing range, sometimes into lunch. You can also get a retracement forming, basically displacement, retracement starting and ending around 10:20, and then a continuation 10:30 market maker sell model, market maker buy model, creating that new low or new high into 11 o'clock. So you can entry sometimes around there. Reversal entries happen most times, just even for a short-term retracement. But yeah, between 10:30 and 10:45, you can get a tiny entry sometimes too. I used to have it printed on my chart. If you go back and watch the old videos, or if you've been in here long enough, I recently took it off just because I don't even focus that much on it. Actually, I could take this other 850 macro off too. I don't even use that anymore. There is in the 950 macro Q&A post, there's a flow chart in there from a while back. It still applies. I don't use it all the time, but if you want to study where the 10:30 entries are likely to happen, you just follow that flow chart. Let me see if I can find it. It's not going to pull up. Just scroll down, you can probably find it. How do you rate PDAs like fair value gaps, order blocks, BPRs from strongest to weakest? Okay, so ICT has a video on this. It's core content. Let me pull it up. Core content month 10, higher time frame analysis, maybe? Now I can't find the video. Here we go. Defining higher time frame PD arrays. So let me screenshot this. This is taken from month 5. Sorry, not month 10. So let me reply to your little post. So that is your order of PD arrays. Strongest being next to equilibrium, weakest going all the way to the outside. So mitigation block will be your strongest. Breaker, liquidity voids, fair value gaps, order blocks, rejection blocks, old high, old low. So that's your order from strongest to weakest. Obviously, if some of those PD arrays aren't present, you skip it and go to the next one. Yeah, that should be the flowchart link. Thank you. Could you put a screenshot of the macro indicator? Yeah. Let me The other one's very similar, just covering the kill zones. I have a friend who trades quarterly theory. We both take the same trades. Yeah, it's quarterly theory is really just a personal tool. I think if you want to use it, there's nothing wrong with that, but I'll never have any affinity for quarterly theory. People swear by it though. GG headache. Why'd you cover up the time axis on that one? You're gonna have to make me. You know, I'm gonna save that picture. I'll go in and find exactly where that is. Just wait. Yeah, that old flowchart picture. Yeah, I think that's the one. Is that the new one or the old one? I think that's the same one. It was posted a while ago, like 5 months ago. But if you wanted it, I'll just post it in here too. Such an old. It's so extra. You don't even need it. But it's like, here's every single possibility you could be looking for the morning. It's so complicated. But I mean, just think about how advanced that coding of the algorithm is. Can barely even fit on a single screen of just one morning session. Someone asked, oh, I can't find it now. If you wanted to go in and watch the ICT chart or price action models, I think the lower time frame ones are solid for learning, for reading price. They're mostly higher time frame stuff, but you can normally find some gems in the algorithmic explanations on his videos. So if you go to the trade plan and algorithmic theory for each of them, it normally works. Like he has some definitions of order blocks, like the whole order block volume imbalance duo thing was taken from, I think, Model 6 or something, one of those videos. I haven't even watched all of them. Yeah, Model 6 and 7 are the market maker model videos. They don't really go too much in depth. I think he explains more in his singular market maker model video. Let me see if I can find that one too. This one. This is a more in-depth explanation, but it's still basic. If you want to learn like swing grading and things like that, then you can look to a guy named Aphiz, AFYZ. He's got fantastic content. Dexter Lab also. But they trade a whole different way than what I look at and probably what most people look at. They trade power of 3, market maker model, open, high, low, close, all that. It's the main stuff, right? But you definitely have to learn a whole new language when you look at their content. Someone was asking about the psych stuff earlier. Trying to scroll up to find it. I don't know if I can. Anyways, we'll have a backtesting stream probably next Monday too. So if you want to bring that in, we can do that too. Same logic in that one. That one is today, for sure. Now I gotta figure out exactly what times those are. Or you could just be drawing random lines in the chart. It could be either one. It's gonna make me study for absolutely nothing. I don't even know what it means either. Is that time power of 3? Or is that just turtle soup times? I don't even know. Time power of 3, okay. Accumulation, manipulation, distribution. Yeah, that'll be for this weekend. Hopefully it's worth it. You think it's worth it? Or no? I don't know, man. All right. I'll take your word for it. I'll see. Let me see. I'll have a whole notebook for it. Public content or private? I did not know Michael dropped time power of 3 stuff. That's crazy. Got me digging in 2024. Anyways, we'll wrap it up. I hinted towards it. That is true. I mean, technically everything. Like I was dabbling in some time fib stuff later last year, like 2023 in November. The time fib stuff is kind of nasty. I'm not gonna lie. I just could never pull it. Yeah, like break your time fib. I've got a whole QNA post in it. I just never mastered it, and it was such like it's just getting on my nerves. Like I think it was like if you measured from the breaker, like if you have an ABC. Here we go. If you had this as a breaker, right? You measure this for the price, and it was like you measured this for the time, and you got your entry between -1 and -1.5. This range normally hit with like, so like this would be your target in here, and then sometimes it'd be the -4 if it was reversing. I don't remember though. I think that's what it is. I could be wrong with how I'm drawing it though, because technically everything is here. Let me see if I can find some pictures. I'll post it up on this screen right here. Let me scroll back. It is kind of scuffed, but it does work if there's a really clean breaker. Let me see if I can find some. Here we go, breaker time. I did a whole video on it too. Here's one from recently. So we have the breaker, measuring the time on the AB leg. I'll call this the AB leg. This is the BC leg. So the AB leg, you got your 2 to 2.5 range and the 4. An entry given within, so your BC this is where you draw your time fib. Entry within here, exit within here, and you get the 2 to 2.5 hit right at the 2.5 of the time. Then the 4 lined up with a news driver. So my question is then, do you drag it from the same times every day, or is it different times every day? I would assume it's the same time. What was your frustration with the time fib? It was very inconsistent with where I would draw it and like where I would, like the exits and stuff. Sometimes it would work. Like, let me see if I can find another one. I'll see if I can post it. The previous ones were just too good. That's not one. That's not one. And now I can't find a good one. I'm trying to find a really clean market maker model. Here's one. I mean, it's kind of small. If you drop down to a sub 1 minute, it's probably better. Breaker in here, 2 to 2.5. Price hit within the that purple box at the 2.5, and then entry given within the 1 to 1.5. But it was never really consistent, and I didn't know what time frame to pull it from, so I just stopped using it. The way of marking isn't really right, but breakers align with time, so that should work. Time doesn't get manipulated. I assume it doesn't, right? But what is time distortion then? Is time distortion not time manipulation? Or is it just accumulation of time? Right? Because how does the power of 3 work if there's no manipulation in time? Nah, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm definitely confusing someone. But maybe manipulation is not always manipulation. It was just accumulation of... Now you're just frustrating me. There's a whole different section that no one knows about, I'm sure. Very few people know about. And I started digging into it last year, and then I just gave up. Like, what's his name on Twitter? Tristan Gold, or TRSTNGLRD. He's got some nutty posts on Twitter, like actually covering like dynamic financial stuff. I don't even know. Like, his own content confuses me. I'll take a look at the time distortion link after. Yeah, he has chaos theory, exactly. How do you stop or control FOMO? I'll keep coming back to it, but relies on a singular model. Obviously, when you have your model, you're still gonna have FOMO of fearing to enter in when there's different entry outside of the model. For me, it was sometimes I would have, okay, here's my model, here's another entry, and I would take a loss on that extra entry. I think directly associating the loss to the FOMO is important, and not to anything else. So if you can directly take accountability of, okay, I broke my rules, I got the FOMO, and it provided me a loss. Or even if you got a win, that feeling of like, that wasn't a perfect execution. If you can directly relate it back to, I FOMO'd, and the reason I FOMO was because, what's the underlying reason, right? Like, do you fear you're not going to pass your evaluation quick enough? Do you feel you're going to miss out on opportunity to, are you being greedy? Is that the underlying cause of FOMO? You want to get more profit, so here's the best way. I don't want to miss this. Normally what you have is there's like an emotional, there's an emotion that leads up to FOMO, which then leads up to your execution, right? So I have a video for it. It's a CJFX video. It's in the psychology post. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. It is a great understanding of how your brain works, and it's probably the best psychology video you'll ever see. So this video helps out a lot if you haven't watched it already, even if you have, watched it over a second time. Fantastic execution of how to understand the mental problems and building a mental map. So FOMO, and just like every other, I guess, poor entry, all comes from a singular thought, right? So if you can not stop the thought, emotions are not bad. Emotions are normally a signal for you to stop, or you're going to fall into the emotion and overtrade, over leverage. So there's a thought that will start it, and that thought will come from normally a false bias or a lie that you've preconceived, a subconscious lie or an expectation maybe you brought into the market beforehand. And all that stuff sometimes is not easy to spot. That's why you have to reflect a lot of, okay, I'm fearful that I'm not going to pass my evaluation because, I don't know, I wanted to pass it in 2 weeks. Okay, well, why do you want to pass it in 2 weeks, right? Like, what's the point there? You're just going to delay it even further. So if you, okay, it's an unreasonable expectation, I'm going to give myself 2 months. That's plenty of time, right? Maybe seem like, oh, it's a long time. It's not, because maybe if you stopped trying to push it, it wouldn't have taken you this long in the first place, right? If you gave yourself 2 months in the first place just to grind it out, probably would have already been done with it. So, give yourself more leeway mentally than you expect. And then you can start breaking down, okay, now I don't have this feeling of I have to be rushed to finish it. And then, okay, that'll prevent me from entering outside my model. That'll prevent other situations from happening. Yeah, the Mental Game of Trading is a great book. That's the book he does reference in there. You can find it either at the store, online, or even a PDF, I'm sure, somewhere. But that video and then the book, for sure, 100%. Even Mark Douglas's videos on YouTube. There's free Mark Douglas lectures you can find on YouTube. It's probably like 2 hours long. He's got like the really common one if you just look up Mark Douglas free lecture. Those are fantastic in understanding. It doesn't apply to ICT concepts directly, and most psychology books and videos won't. That's why even ICT's Twitter spaces are good resources to use. But even though it doesn't apply to ICT concepts, it's still really good. What is this other picture? Oh, nice. Now you've added price lines. Fantastic. This guy. Do you have your... What is this? Okay. Yeah, now we're getting too tricky. You're literally gonna have me like 8 hours in my room looking at these pictures and figuring it out. If it's worth it, then I will gladly do it. Let me see. Maybe I can understand the TS goat sauce. Yeah, exactly. There goes my weekend. Send me a cleaner version tomorrow. Let me dig for it a little bit. Let me dig for it today and tomorrow, and if it still stumps me, then send me a cleaner picture. I'd really appreciate it. I like a little challenge. I'll take it. Everyone else too, do your work. Yeah, psychology is like the gym. But even those, the funny thing about psychology is even someone who has had multiple payouts and multiple different, they've maybe 14K payout. If they don't follow the same rules that they always do, or they don't stick to something, they can still blow up, right? Like there's still that possibility. People think, oh, those guys are invincible. No, like if they don't do one thing in their situation, if they don't get those one different entry, they will fail. And it's inevitable if you don't. So you have to think about, okay, what are the top tier guys doing? Exactly. The demons will always be there. You can't really beat them. It's that emotion will always be there of, oh, I could push the button. But the highest quality traders are really, really good at following their own rules, right? It's their own stuff that they're writing down. So no one else is gonna tell you your rules. If you can't listen to yourself, you're not gonna listen to anyone. So your rules are written by yourself from your past self, reminding you this is what happens if you break it. You're gonna fail your evaluation, you're gonna fail your funded, whatever it may be. Right? So understanding that those rules come from experience and then sticking to them, and then knowing what happens if you fail to follow those rules are very, very important. That's why, yeah, you build a cushion and use the least amount of risk you can. Like if you have 20K in drawdown and you only are risking 200 per trade, then you don't have to worry too much about any of the psychology, not any of the psychology, but less psychology problems than you would if you're using crazy large position size. So make it easier on yourself. Stop trying to rush it. Stop trying to use the largest position size you can. Stop trying to pass it in 2 days or 1 day. Even if it says you can pass it in 1 day, don't. Give yourself time. Give yourself some leeway of making mistakes, because you'll make a mistake of trailing your stop too tight or entering in the wrong position. All that stuff is important. It's really just a mental game once you understand the basics of here's where price is likely to go. I found an entry model. It's 90% a mental game and patience after that. So check up on those resources if you can over the weekend, the psychology video and the Mark Douglas videos as well. We'll wrap it up here, going for about an hour or so. Backtesting stream will be on Monday as well. So we'll do a stream review. No stream on Monday, no tape reading stream. We'll have probably a trade review on Monday and then a backtesting stream in the backtesting section, not the public one. So appreciate you guys joining, sticking around for an hour in the PM session. What do we do over here? Oh, it just dropped off. Oh, there's your higher time frame, bisi. Fantastic. I'll cover the AM model in the models and reviews. I'll post the PDF from today, yesterday, and Tuesday. So the 3 difficult days. I'll leave Monday and Wednesday up to you. So I will see you guys probably Monday. Have a solid weekend and get outside if you can. Take care and stay safe. Peace.